You're listening to Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast for and by Rockies fans on Rocky Mountain Rooftop. Thank you for joining us as we discuss all things baseball and Colorado Rockies. Hello and welcome to Affected by Altitude, the Colorado Rockies podcast on Rocky Mountain Rooftop, the proud affiliate of Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, Evan Lang, and with me, as always, is Skyler Timmons.
Howdy ho.
Neighborino.
Mm-hmm.
A googly, a doogly.
Yes.
Yes.
Aurora Borealis.
Yeah. I was more, when you say the yes, though, I more think of the episode, I can't remember which episode it was, where it's like a sitcom with Mr. Burns and Smithers.
It's when
he walks in and he's just
it's
like,
his Rosebud
yes!
episode looking for his teddy bear.
But
and
then it's
he's
just like,
taken over cable to get Homer to hand it over, and they had a sitcom. Mr. Burns, you're home already? Laugh track.
yes.
Yes.
And the reason why that gets stuck in my head is because of the YouTube channel Dankmas, an Australian YouTuber who also does like legitimately really good like tech content on things like headphones and music players and things like that. But then also got his start as a YouTuber making remixes using Simpsons material, including a pretty dope remix of the Dr. Zaius song from Planet of the Apes, the musical, a segment from The Simpsons that I have memorized in its entirety.
Who hasn't?
Yeah, I'm sure there's like a couple people.
And then those people are fools. Fools!
But we're not here to talk about The Simpsons. Or
although we
Steven
do it every
Spielberg,
week.
Or his non-union Mexican equivalent, Esteban Spielbargo.
It's not Senor Spielbergo.
We're here to talk about the Colorado Rockies, and we are coming in fresh off the heels of an exciting 7-run comeback victory where the Rockies were behind 8-2 in the bottom of the 8th and ended up winning the game 9-8.
Bailing out Justin Lawrence.
You know, bailing out a lot of people, and we'll talk about this a lot. The Rockies and pitching have not exactly been friends over the last couple days, especially with all of the injuries that they've been experiencing. So we'll start with Cal Quantrill. His next start has been delayed, potentially indefinitely. There's not really a good idea of when his next start is, with some, I think they were saying forearm tightness.
Yeah, something around like the elbow or forearm, stuff like that.
And he's potentially going on the injured list. Kyle Freeland had a blister that they thought was better, but then in today's game, he had to leave early because the hot spot just redeveloped, which is frustrating. Gosh, who else did we lose? Ryan Feltner is now on the injured list with they were calling it a shoulder / lat strain.
Mm-hmm. We've had Herman shut down for the rest of the year because of an elbow strain,
which is the right move. I know it stinks, but it really does feel like all parties sort of rushed to be back early this year. I think Herman was really raring to go and wanted to be back. I think the team wanted him to be back, and luckily what they're saying is the elbow injury for Herman is unrelated to his Tommy John surgery. It's not at the ligament site. It's more of like at the back of the elbow. Yeah. And they think it'll be a normal 6 to 8 week recovery time. He'll have full off-season activities and be ready to rock and roll for training camp. And it stinks because I love Herman. We all do, and we want to see him pitch. But for him, this is the right move. With less than 2 months left of the season, just focus on him being back and healthy for the final year of his contract in 2025 and see where we go from there.
Mm-hmm.
And I would even argue at this point that the Rockies should stop pushing to try and get Senzatela back this season.
Yeah, it's part of it. You want to have a guy finish a year on a good note if he's been rehabbing all year like Senzi has. So I can understand, but it's the fact of, okay, let's make sure he just has good rehab stints down in the minors and see where we go from there. If he can appear for one game, it should be with the intent of we're going to get you out on big league mound. You're going to throw 2 innings tops. We're going to use you as an opener and just finish your season on a good note and then get you ready for the next year. That would be my approach to that. No, it's hard to tell these guys, no, you can't come back and play baseball. Like, you can't keep them down. So, but like we're saying, you got to be careful, be smart about it. I think, they did maybe rush Herman a little bit. No, because we had heard, probably at the end of July would probably be when he gets fully back. Instead, he's there right before the All-Star break. And then he disappears the rest of the season. So you just got to be smart about it. But I
came
think
in, set the franchise strikeout record, and then and then was done.
Yeah, get your award and go hang out the rest of the year.
They gave him a 99 overall card in MLB The Show for that.
Yeah, that I was hoping to get in one of the little content packs, but no, I did not get him. But
I burned all my stubs to get it. I hadn't bought a single pack using stubs basically all season and burned all of them. And I did get him.
If only it was easier to get stubs without paying real money. But I think with a lot of these guys with the shoulder injuries or like these injuries, because with Ryan Felner it was really weird. He throws the 1 inning, looked good. Like there's nothing that seemed out of the ordinary. And then seemed kind of angry in the dugout. And the last shot we saw was he's sitting there and like nobody around him. I guess a couple of guys, Sullivan said, come and like patted him on the shoulder and like talked to him. And then he and Bud Black went down into the tunnel. And then Noah Davis is starting. And then immediately after the game, it's a shoulder strain. We're putting him on the injured list. So I don't know. Our conspiracy hats are on. We still think maybe there's something up there, Evan. Some fishiness, or it probably is a legit injury, but it's just weird circumstances.
It really is. And also just an update. This actually got updated this afternoon and I missed it. The Rockies are hoping that Cal will be ready to pitch on Friday against the San Diego Padres. Structurally completely fine. He threw a bullpen yesterday, August 10th. He says, I appreciate that the team is taking care of me so that I'm ready to go for the rest of this year and beyond.
It's some corporate speak if I've ever heard any. Some good PR there. But and let's not forget, Evan, the people's hero, Dakota Hudson, is now on the injured list as well. After he threw a whole 3 innings and walked 4 people.
That was rough. They called back up Dakota Hudson with the delay of Cal Quantrill's start. And it was Dakota Hudson. It was the worst form of Dakota Hudson that we've seen a couple times this season that we'd been seeing down in Albuquerque. He pitched 3 innings and it was pretty painful. And then now he's on the 15-day injured list.
Yeah.
And Bud Black was talking about after the presser, in his presser today, it's like, we really need some of these starters over the next week to get some length because of how much they've had to burn the bullpen. You had Noah Davis working a ton. Peter Lambert's worked a ton. They brought back Josh Rogers today, and he pitched multiple innings. Anthony Molina pitched multiple innings. It's been a rough go of it for the bullpen, having to pick up from all of these injuries. Of the last couple series, the only pitcher who made it, deep into a ball game was Tanner Gordon. And Tanner Gordon did a great job. 5 innings, looked really good. I think he had a career high 7 strikeouts. But you need that to happen more than once over a 6-game span.
Yeah. And is Austin Gomber the only one who hasn't gone on the injured list now? Oh, I guess Cal Quantrill still hasn't gone on the injured list, but he and Gomber are the only ones that haven't had a stint on the IL this season, I think.
And that was after Austin Gomber on Thursday against the Mets only made it, 3 innings and gave up 5 earned runs.
Yeah, when he forgot he was supposed to be pitching a ball game instead of throwing batting practice. But it's been a rough week, and it's been a tried and true where it's really testing Rockies' depth when your starters regress back, struggle, and the injuries start to stack up, or just little nuances in effectiveness where it's just a perfect storm where we've seen it before, early on in the season, or really early on last season in a terrible year, where then that bullpen's getting taxed early on. But now you're at a point in the season where they've been taxed all year already, more and more. And then you get to this point of the year where they're not going to be as crisp and not as effective because they've got the mileage on them, on their arms at this point of the year. So it gets a little tougher. And props to Noah Davis and Peter Lambert, especially those two in those long relief roles, spun some good games, ate some innings, some much needed innings, and were effective, kept the Rockies in some games. And Anthony Molina, he's kind of been shaky, and some of the other bullpen guys like Victor Vodnik has done well when he's had the chance at the back end or when he's been able to bounce back after stuff. So it's really testing their depth. But with this comes opportunity of a Tanner Gordon. I'm saying the commissioner doing good. He's making Batman proud. Hey, Batman night's coming up soon, Evan. Does Tanner Gordon pitch that night?
What day is Batman night?
I don't know.
Google. Quick, vamp.
But it's opportunity to get a guy like him in there. And we'll see who else maybe then has to step up. And if we'll see more roster shuffling, guys getting DFA'd. Ty Block, we're looking. If you peek around the corner, Evan, I think we see Ty Block. He's probably poking around like, you guys need me? I'm still here.
Did somebody say a pitcher got hurt?
Did somebody say they needed a left-handed aging veteran from Colorado? But
Bud Black goes, I did.
I did. And so Ty Block, maybe we see him again. Or maybe they turn younger and then Carson Palmquist gets an opportunity to come up. Who knows? But with the way that rotation's going, you can afford to maybe be more careful with guys like a Cal Quantrill. Like, Cal, we're concerned. We're going to put you on the injured list just so we can get a look at somebody else and just give you proper time to heal. That could be the same thing with Ryan Feltner. So who knows? Maybe Kyle Freeland, like, hey, that blister's bothering you. We're going to place you on the injured list just because we want to get that figured out.
And the problem is, for the bullpen, there's not a whole lot we can do right now. The bullpen was already taxed, and even before they were taxed, they were struggling. And you've got guys like Justin Lawrence. I love Justin Lawrence, but he has just been not good this year. And I think there's a variety of different reasons why. But he's one of those guys, and we'll talk about this a little later, that maybe it's time to move on from. I think a change of scenery after this year might do him some good, considering he's got no options left and is about to hit arbitration going into next season. But for the rotation, you've got the guys down in the minors, but there's a couple who I think are, especially Carson Palmquist, who you mentioned, who you really might want to be keeping an eye on for the rest of this season. I think it would take a lot for guys like Sean Sullivan or Chase Dollander to make their debuts this year, but it is worth pointing out that both of them are now in Double-A Hartford and have had some very solid appearances since their promotion.
Yeah.
Where Chase Dollander and Sean Sullivan both pitched. They started back-to-back, which was a really fun day for Hartford, but they both had just absolutely fabulous outings, and they've looked good. I would say for both of them in their first outings in Double-A, they weren't as sharp as they could have been, which you get because it's a brand new level of competition. And we've talked about this before. The jump from high A to Double-A is a bigger jump than people realize. But you've got Chase Dollander, who his first start with Hartford, he went 4 innings, only gave up 1 run unearned, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. Pretty good. Struggled actually a little bit more in the next one, 4 1/3 innings, gave up 3 earned runs. But then his last 2 starts, 5 innings, 6 innings, 6 strikeouts each, only 1 total earned run across both of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's exciting. That's something to be pumped up about. And then you go over to Sean Sullivan, and he's only pitched 2 outings now in Double-A, and his first one, again, much like Dollander, 4 innings, but didn't give up a run. Mm-hmm. And then as part of that leg of the doubleheader this weekend, 5 innings, gave up 2 hits, didn't give up a run. So in Double-A right now, Sean Sullivan still has an ERA of 0. So that at least gives you hope for next season and beyond, especially when these guys will either start the season in Triple-A or be fighting for a roster spot in camp. I think both of them get big league camp invites for spring training. I'd be shocked if they didn't.
Yeah.
But then you've got all the other guys who are going to be coming back to Double-A and higher, like Gabriel Hughes and things like that. And I think of all of the guys we're likely to see this year is probably Carson Palmquist, who's now made 2 starts in Triple-A. And his first start, it didn't go well. You know, Triple-A is a meat grinder, and he was playing in Las Vegas, which is as hitters friendly, if not even more hitter friendly than the lab down in Albuquerque. But then you turn it around in his next outing, he pitches 5 scoreless. The strikeout stuff, not quite there yet. You know, it's, again, a much tougher level of competition. But it's nice to see for these 3 guys, I would say the 3 most exciting starting pitchers, as we're struggling with the rotation up in the big league level, to have a little bit of hope coming for the future.
Yeah. And that's what's nice to see. Yeah, we probably won't see Dollander or Sullivan this year, which is perfectly fine. Like, they would quickly ascend. If they can maybe appear in Triple-A by the end of the season, that's not too shabby. Like, that's a good year for them. And then they can maybe start there next year or something. But it's nice to see that there's some reinforcement. There's some good to be seen from starting pitching in the system. And it's the rotation that we've had the same staples that have been there really since 2017. Guys are getting up there. You know, unfortunately, we've signed a couple of them to long-term deals through like 2026, 2027, which kind of muddies the waters there. But there's a new crop coming up that should be very exciting. And it's cool to see with some of those guys. You mentioned, maybe some rougher outings, not some crisp ones, but we're seeing quick, I guess, readjustments and their bounce backs. So like Carson Palmquist, first outing, 3 2/3, 6 runs on 7 hits, 1 home run, 3 strikeouts, 5 walks. Not great. Second start, down in Albuquerque, goes 5 innings, 3 runs on 5 hits, 3 strikeouts, 3 walks. So there's improvement. Same with those guys in Hartford, where bounce back improvement. Those guys that threw a doubleheader, 5 innings, those doubleheaders are 7 innings apiece. So more or less close to a complete game for them. They probably could have pitched the whole 7.
Yeah, and those are just the big name guys. There are a lot of other guys in Double-A and High A who have had really good and impressive. Connor Stain in High A Spokane has been a treat to watch. And my big guy for one of our best improved prospects throughout the course of the season is Connor Van Skyek, who obtained when we traded Mike Moustakas to the Angels last year. He struggled in the beginning of this year to adjust to Double-A. He had a hard time. But then, second half of the season especially, he has really turned things around in a good way. And it just makes you feel a lot better about the future of pitching in this team. We've also been hearing really good things about the lab, the Rockies pitching lab at their Arizona complex. It's got some pretty kind comments towards it from the players and from other folks in the industry. So it gives you a little bit of hope for the future of pitching in this organization, which, like I said, is needed with all the injuries, especially as we're hitting down the stretch here. It's going to be a weird and probably pretty bumpy end of the season when it comes to pitching.
Yeah, especially in that bullpen, too. We've already seen it. We get shuffled. Chasen Shreve shows up, has a good outing. Oh, and then he's DFA'd the next day for Dakota Hudson. Oh, Dakota Hudson's injured? Well, we better bring up Josh Rogers now. And then so it's a lot of shuffling. Lucas Gilbreth will be back at some point. So, but there's hope to be seen in the starting pitching department. Relief will be another conversation for another time, but we're seeing guys getting closer. Riley Pints, he's still up, I think.
Yeah, Riley Pint is
still there. He still exists. He survived 1 game, 2 games.
2 games. He's made 2 appearances.
He's pitched more than once.
We're watching Angel Chivi adjust to big league pitching. Chivi. That's been an experience for him. Like he barely pitched in Triple-A before he was called back up again. And there's a lot resting on his shoulders. And then we do have some relievers down in Double-A and High A. I think actually they're both in Double-A now. Carson Skipper and Zach Agnes. Both really interesting relievers.
In AAA, we have Jaden Hill is up there in Albuquerque along with Seth Halverson, who guys that can ride or die on that fastball, baby. Turn and burn rubber, baby. And so,
and
they're guys that could show up this season too. So
I would actually not be surprised if Jaden Hill makes a debut at some point this season. He's one of those guys where, Seth Halverson to some extent as well, where their first outings in AAA were welcome to the PCL, kid. It is not fun here.
Yeah, when they're pitching in a garbage like 20 to something loss.
Yeah, basically thrown into the AAA meat grinder. But there's at least some stuff to keep an eye out for.
Yeah. Then position player wise, same thing, but that's not part of this conversation right now.
Yeah. And that about does it for this part. We're going to take a really quick break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about some position players on the Rockies. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Affected by Altitude with Evan and Skyler. And to kick off this second segment of the show,
let me say something real quick, Evan. Seth Halverson has actually done very well. He's allowed 1 run in 3 appearances in AAA. He was the
for Halverson. I believe it was on. He pitched in the same game as Carson Palmquist when he made his AAA debut.
Yeah, in Las Vegas.
In the second pitch, got demolished. His second ever pitch in AAA. But then he turned things around and actually shut things down quite nicely.
1 run, 2 hits, 2 strikeouts, and a walk. Yeah, he's got 6 strikeouts against 2 walks in 4 innings. So
he's had a very quick rise.
He's on the fast track.
And I'd also not be surprised if we saw him at some point this season.
Nope. Anyways, back to our regular scheduled programming.
I know I was about to launch into our next segment and immediately got derailed. Because, Skyler, speaking of derailed, is it time to talk about Ryan McMahon?
Yeah, we can do that first. Sure. Yeah, it's our all-star this year. And we've seen this before with Ryan McMahon. First couple months, first half, really those first 2 months, really, he's really good. Home runs come in bunches. He's really effective at the plate. And especially this season where it was such a stark contrast, the rest of the offense was struggling. He had refined his approach, changed some things, was hitting better. He's got much better plate discipline. Doing excellent, becomes our all-star representative. But we saw in June, really near the end of May, but really in June and into the second half, where it's the other Ryan McMahon that we've seen. And that's been the conversation for the Rockies, where he needs to put together a complete season, 2 complete halves of the year offensively. He does it defensively all year. He's been excellent, should win a Gold Glove. Like that part, that's fine. I don't think we really need to build more on that. We know Ryan McMahon is a Gold Glover caliber player. He's doing excellent defensively. Offensively, though, we're seeing some inklings again of that regression. That's kind of worrisome.
Yeah, and it's tough because when you look at his June into the All-Star break, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that bad. So, as we know, he had a very strong start to the season. Beginning of the season through the end of May, he had an 840 OPS. So he hit 282, 367, 474, 10 home runs, 10 doubles. He drew 28 walks to 63 strikeouts. That's a pretty solid ratio. And then we saw him start to cool off a little bit. And, through the end of the first half, through the start of the All-Star break from the start of June, he hit 258, 325, 411, 11 doubles, which is great. 4 home runs, which is great. But he stopped drawing that many walks. He walked 14 times to 52 strikeouts. And then where it really just starts to get ugly is since he came back from the All-Star break. Granted, it's now, this is not counting today's game. This is going through yesterday, which is 18 total games. He's got an OPS of 550.
Yeah.
From July 19th through August 10th. Batting average 109, on base percentage 296, slugging 255. He's only got 4 extra base hits, 2 doubles, and 2 home runs. He is drawing a decent number of walks. He's got 14 walks to 22 strikeouts, but he's just not hitting. And this is, you look at the entire first half of his season, and yeah, he had some hot and cold streaks, but nowhere near to the degree that we have seen him scuffle at the plate since coming back from the All-Star game.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to pull up everything here on Fangraphs. It's like I said, it's been a regression in a lot of things where, yeah, there's some things that have stayed, like the walks have been excellent. Strikeouts, he's kept those in check, really. But he's just not having the thump at the plate that he was those first couple of months, where now he seemed to have a stranglehold on the home run lead. And then Michael Toglia just kept hitting home runs. Brenton Doyle kept hitting home runs. Ezekiel Tovar kept hitting home runs. And more consistently doing those things, where he went a huge stretch without a home run, finally snapped it. And then it's hard to remember, when did Ryan McMahon last hit a home run? And so it seems like he goes these long stretches again where he's just not contributing offensively or having the thump that he did earlier in the season. And that gets worrisome because he's hitting in a lynch point in the lineup, third or fourth. And when you're not doing much, it's not helping. And so he's got to turn things around again and put together that complete season again. Here on the Sunday game, the series finale against the Braves, a good day. We need more of those, more consistently. Not he has this today, and then maybe he'll throw out a couple of hits on Thursday. Yeah.
Well, so Ryan McMahon in July, June into July, went 23 games, 97 plate appearances without a home run. And he was riding, coming into starting August, I believe, he went like 0 for 19. Like he just had an absolutely brutal stretch from the beginning of August through really the start of this Atlanta series, where 0 for 19 in 24 plate appearances, 3 walks, 9 strikeouts. That's rough.
Yeah, not great.
And for a guy who you said by not trading him that he is a linchpin of this organization, that he is the future of this team, you can't really get that ice cold for that long.
Yeah, you can't afford one of your marquee players that you swear he's going to break out. Like, how often are we going to have to hear that Ryan McMahon's about to break out? Like, and I think we were both on the same page. There's an argument you can keep Ryan McMahon on your team and refuse to trade him. But the fault that the Rockies made was not entertaining just the idea at all, especially where they're at now as an organization. Now, we can respect Ryan McMahon, his wishes. He didn't want to get traded. Because of with his family situation, he just didn't feel like picking up a newborn and his wife and having them have to move somewhere else, back up the house and everything. We can understand that and that loyalty. But it's the Rockies. They can have that conversation with him at some point of like, okay, we're going to entertain. We're just going to see what's out there and see if anything comes to fruition. But it's just hard because then you hold on to him because he's a linchpin. He's going to be our guy. He's a cornerstone for our franchise, a core guy. And then he just goes ice cold like he has every other season of his big league career in the second half. It's a tough situation because, like we said, the elements of that good player are still there that we saw in the first half. It's that teams have adjusted to pitching to him, and he doesn't have much protection in the lineup, and he's just not doing the damage that he was earlier.
And a good comparison is another guy who's gone pretty cold to start August is Brenton Doyle. Brenton Doyle, as we all know, had an incredible July, was molten hot, hit a ton of home runs, And here in August, he's cooled off tremendously. He's hitting in 9 games this August, 189, 225, 378, which, no, not great. But he's still providing a little bit of the thump in his bat, where, Ryan McMahon doesn't have a home run yet in August. Brenton Doyle at least already has 2, in addition to a double. So he's still going out there and putting together, being a threat, that power threat, where Brenton Doyle now has secured his 2020 season. With a little under 2 months to go, he has a real chance for 30-30, especially if he can turn things around. But the difference is Brenton Doyle is in his sophomore season. He's, put together a good rookie campaign defensively, but his bat needed work, and he's put in the work. Like this year offensively, even if he struggles for the rest of the year, we can say that he already blew the expectations for him out of the water.
Yeah.
For a sophomore season where there was a lot of work to be done. For Ryan McMahon, he signed a big extension a couple of years ago, and yet we still keep finding ourselves going, is this going to be the year he finally breaks out offensively? And we thought it was.
Yeah. And in some ways he has, just not in the way maybe anybody had really hoped it would, where we keep hearing he should be a 30 home run candidate. He should be able to hit 30 home runs. And yet he hasn't eclipsed 24 yet. He keeps getting capped at the knees. He having a hard time getting even to 20. We saw it last year. He struggled to get up to that 20 mark eventually. And this is a problem that we've seen with the Rockies in general, and some players, and like Ryan McMahon is an example of guys that go into a slide. It's common in baseball. It's just natural. You're going to go into peaks and valleys. It's how long the ability to get out of those valleys quicker and adjust or stay up. So like you mentioned, Brenton Doyle. Yeah, it'll a slide here to start June, but that valley is still not that. It's a pretty shallow valley that he's in. Going down,
Skyler,
he's coming back up.
You went back in time. It's August.
What have I done?
I mean, hey, Brenton Doyle was pretty good in June too, though.
Yeah, July. I mean. All the months are the same. Lousy smarch weather.
They start to blend together at this point.
Pretty much.
It really is. And we saw this with Ezequiel Tovar, where Ezequiel Tovar had that absolutely brutal slump.
Yeah.
Where it was what?
0 for 30.
30 something, 31, I believe.
Yeah.
It was bad. But Tovar is also young enough that it's much less of a concern when that happens versus the guy who is on a long-term, Tovar's on a long-term deal now, but McMahon is the guy who you said, this is our third baseman that we want to build around. And we just really need the consistency at the bat from him because his glove is perfect. Like, no complaints. And I'm really, really always impressed with Ryan McMahon that his glove never falters even when he is struggling at the plate. Because you see that from plenty of players where they're pressing at the plate, and that means they're pressing in the field. But not Ryan McMahon.
Yeah. He
is an incredible defender, and he deserves the gold glove in third base this year.
Yeah, but and that goes back to that side with like Tovar goes in that 0 for 30. Yeah, not great. And the fact that he stayed in that slump for so long is always concerning when you're going that long with however many strikeouts that he's had and everything. But we've talked about it here on the show before where those peaks and valleys need to be more consistent. Where yeah, you ride that high as much as you can, but when you start to take the turn, you cannot go all the way back to the bottom of the mountain and start again. No, you can't afford to go, and I have an excellent month, and now I'm 0 for 30 again. And no, you need to go up and, you're 0 for 10, and then boom, you're back up. And so that's the consistency of production we need from a guy like Ryan McMahon, where he's a leader on the field in that clubhouse. We've seen the tools are still there. It's continued to evolve and refine your approach this season and adjust to how teams are pitching him now. And then taking advantage when he does get a pitch to hit. take advantage of it. You can't miss on stuff. No, take advantage of the opportunities you have because he's not getting much protection in that lineup. I think teams have figured that out.
Yeah, it's a tough lineup to bat in. And you know what? I also want to give more kudos to Brenton Doyle because I'm looking through his numbers now. The longest stretch of games he's gone without a hit is 3.
Nice.
That's really solid.
Yeah.
And, we had that stretch. Ezekiel Tovar's slump was across 8 games where he went 1 for 31 and struck out 13 times.
Mm-hmm.
It was bad. And Ryan McMahon, the 0 for 19 stretch, that's not what you want to see from your, basically the captain of this team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
but
hopefully...
I don't think, I don't want to say all hope is lost because I think Ryan McMahon gets to 20 home runs this year. I do think he pulls out of this nosedive, and I think he finishes the season strong even. But it just goes to show that we maybe jumped the gun a little bit at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. And we know history was on our side too, because the way he is, he plays good in the first half. And that's the thing that he still has to overcome. And it's hard to do sometimes because he's just setting that rhythm. But you have to be able to play however long the 6 months, basically. 6 month season. You can't afford to take 2 months off, at a peak point in the season too. Like those first 2, it's nice to get out to a hot start. But then it's hard to keep that momentum up before you get burned out or other circumstances. So, I don't know. Like I said, the tools are there. Plate discipline, the vision's good. But we're just seeing some of the chase rate go up. Some of the little things where he's not getting a hold of pitches that he should be getting a hold of like he was earlier in the year. Other things like that. Old habits start to sneak back in a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
But hey, 2020 season for Brenton Doyle.
Yeah, that's super fun. We don't have a ton of time left in this segment, but I want to ask you, Skyler, are we at the point now where we consider a extension for Brenton Doyle? Get him on a new contract, much like we did with Ezekiel Tovar, that gets him through arbitration and all of that stuff and gets him up, past this part of his career, maybe through his age 31 or 32 season, and then go from there. Because I say yes.
Yeah, it's just hard. It's hard sometimes with a team like the Rockies are right now and still figuring out the roster because the outfield's so jam-packed. And so you got to start picking up first of, okay, what outfielder do we see is going to contribute to this outfield in the future? And is it Brenton Doyle as one of your main outfielders through the next 6 years? I don't know, because we know how taxing Coors Field can be on a guy. And so will his legs hold up for 6 years patrolling center field? Will you have to patrol one of the corner spots? And is there somebody better suited for that? They claim Charlie Condon's going to play left field. There's other guys that could play center, probably not as good, but in that conversation. So I don't know if you want to sign him all the way through arbitration or maybe just give him several years. I think I had thrown out 4 years. And so that gets maybe those first couple years of arbitration or something. I don't know.
Yeah. For me, what it is the Rockies, yes, are jam-packed in the outfield, but not that many of these outfield prospects are actually true center fielders like Brenton Doyle is.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Benny Montgomery and we love Benny, but unfortunately he has just not been able to stay healthy since we've drafted him. And for Brenton Doyle at this point, he has proven that one, he can continue to learn and develop with his bat, but also that he can play center field at Coors really well.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, it's that, I think that long term, because like you're saying, 2030 is 6 years away, and he's played 2 seasons in a Rockies uniform. So I don't know if I wanted to give him all the way through arbitration, but yeah, definitely an extension of some kind that maybe eats up a couple years, gives him a nice little payday to start. Yeah. Or like you said, nice term through, gets to 2030, but it's nice cost controlled. But then you might run into the same problem that we have with Ryan McMahon, where he starts to taper off, but we're still stuck with this contract, so they just keep playing him out there, and his body is just withered away into a skeleton. I don't know.
Look, playing the outfield at Coors is taxing. I don't think he's going to be withered into a skeleton by 2030, though.
I don't know. Maybe he's drinking out of the wrong Holy Grail from Indiana Jones.
I mean, we did find out. He said last year he lost 25 pounds, and had to basically learn. Like Charlie and a couple other guys teaching him was like, you got to snack. You got to.
Austin Wins had to teach him how to snack.
You got to keep the weight on.
Eat a banana, my goodness.
Monkeys don't cramp.
Monkeys never cramp.
But talking about all of these contracts and changes and things like that will lead us excellently into our third segment. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for sticking with us through that ad break as we roll into our third and final segment of Affected by Altitude. I'm Evan. With me is Skyler. He's got a painting of people on horses in the background. And
he is on a... What is that? Some sort of cow.
That's a cow?
Yeah, it's a Filipino cow. And the guy's riding it, and he's pulling a little wagon, and there's a lady on it, and some dogs that are hopping up on the back.
I 100% thought that was a horse.
No, he's riding some sort of Filipino cow.
Neat.
Cow in the Philippines. My grandparents brought that back from the Philippines a long time ago, and it was painted, I believe, by a guy named George.
That's cool.
He was very talented.
I mean, to be fair on me, it's way in the background there. So
yeah, it's hidden in the background.
Think from all the way over here in where I am, through the computer, it looks like a horse.
There you go.
Well, then I'll describe the art in my background. You can see it above my head. It is a collage that my family got me that is Coors Field, but it's made entirely out of pictures of Rockies baseball cards. So if you take a close look, you can go through and see all the players on it. It is very cool.
Neat.
And this has been Art Time with Evan and Skyler. Thank you so much for tuning in. Next week,
I Spy in the Background.
Next week, we will be discussing the abstract art of Ryan Feltner. Actually, he is an artist. It's very, very cool. If you follow Ryan on Instagram, he posts some of his paintings that he does, and I think that's really awesome. I love hearing about all the hobbies and cool stuff that our players do when they're not playing. You know, Chuck likes to fish and does all his outdoorsy stuff. And it's pretty cool that, Felty's a painter, and I like his work a lot, actually. But we're not here to talk about art. Gosh dang it. We're here to play a game.
What?
It's time to play the game. This is a game that I'm sure you've heard many, many variations of, but we posed it to our readers on Purple Row this weekend for the This Week in Purple, and we discussed it at length in our writers channel, playing a little game that is called Fire, Promote, Keep, or some organization of those words, where we take a series of people within the Colorado Rockies organization. We decide whether they are fired, whether they are promoted, or whether they are kept in the same position. And as a caveat, yes, this includes owner Dick Monfort, but if you promote him, he becomes the commissioner of Major League Baseball.
No.
Wasn't it you that came up with that?
No, I asked, what was the next promotion for Dick Monfort? Is it death? Or is it... Or do you go beyond owner? He's old. But then, like, oh, no, he would become the commissioner. I was like, oh, okay.
I think it was Patrick who said commissioner.
Yeah, something like that.
It was somebody.
Oh, yeah, Mac and Patrick.
But basically, we'll go through and we'll decide who does what, who goes where. And the first trio is Bud Black, Bill Schmidt, and Dick Monfort.
Oh man, these are awful. What does Bill Schmidt get promoted to?
President of baseball operations.
Yeah, we'll give him that official title.
Because you think about like when Joe Sakic was promoted, he still technically does a lot of GM work, but his promotion was to president of hockey operations with the Avalanche.
Okay. For me, I am. Oh man. Okay, this is going to be hot, but I'll have to keep Dick Monfort. I will promote Mr. Bill Schmidt. And Mr. Black, unfortunately, you are fired. You fired.
Would you like to explain your reasons?
Nope. See ya.
Okay.
Call. For the way the club needs to go right now, they need a new voice as manager. And I don't like the idea of promoting Bud Black because into a role where he's maybe has more and more influence of that gritty 70s, 80s baseball the right way. No, it would just be more of the same. And so I at least bring in a new voice to help manage the team, maybe help usher in a different vision of what Bill Schmidt would want to do as president of baseball ops. Unfortunately, in this scenario, then we have to keep Dick Monfort, who all tense, like he's a bad owner in the fact that he just meddles too much. Hopefully with a promotion of Bill Schmidt, then he's like, you got it, Bill. Come to me with some of the big stuff. Because the thing, we've dealt with him this long. We'll have to manage a little bit more until we get a different scenario. But he's got the money. He's paying the bills.
Yeah. I picked the exact same three, and for very similar reasons. For Dick Monfort, while he is an incredibly meddlesome owner and he frustrates the heck out of us, the one thing that you can't say about him is that he doesn't care.
Yeah.
And that he is not a cheapskate owner. So, like, he's not about to John Fisher us like the Oakland Athletics or let the organization spiral completely out of control like Jerry Reinsdorf and the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah.
He's stubborn, extremely stubborn. He wants things done his way and believes that's the only true way to win. But he does care about the organization. It's not just a tax write-off. It's not, despite what everyone says, it's not just a money-making venture, a business venture, a real estate venture.
Although it's really good at that too.
It is, but that's being a billionaire for you. If you're a billionaire,
nice.
You want more money. Like, there is no billionaire on earth who's not interested in making more money. But he, at the very least, pays for the team. And that's the thing is, like, the Rockies are always roughly middle of the pack for payroll in Major League Baseball, which as a small to mid-market team is pretty much the best you can ask for.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll take that. And I agree with you that if you promote, say, Bill Schmidt to president of baseball operations, that actually goes hand in hand with keeping Dick Monfort, because it would show actually an evolution in Dick Monfort's behavior, a willingness to appoint a real president of baseball operations for the first time since Kelly McGregor passed.
Well, he was just the team president. He wasn't even president of baseball ops. He was just the club president. And that role was to help with the operations and stuff. But so I don't think they've ever had an actual like president of baseball ops guy who then has a GM working under him. Kelly McGregor was just kind of like partner with whoever, Dan O'Dowd and stuff. But yeah, hopefully it would then, because that's more or less what Dick Monfort considers himself, is he is the president of baseball ops. And so that's why he meddles in the affairs and roster construction,
But naming an actual president to do that would show a willingness on his part to step away from his meddlesome ways, at least a little bit.
Yeah,
Like,
you can
you're
step
never going to
back.
get an owner who's completely hands off for the most part because
It's their money. Yeah. So that's where we're aligned, where Bill gets promoted, and then maybe it's like, okay, I'm getting up there. Like, it's not working. I got to take a step back. I trust you, Bill, because I think Bill Schmidt's done some good things. That's an opportunity. Then he can hire a GM, and they can hire a new manager, all that good stuff.
because that is actually something I'd be interested in seeing is what Bill Schmidt's actual vision is, because I feel like there is a vision there. Like, there are some things that Bill Schmidt wants to do that I feel like he's maybe been hamstrung from on both sides, from, you know, Bud Black, who's the trusted manager, and from the ownership up top. So I'd legitimately be interested to see what Bill Schmidt could do as the president of baseball operations. But for Bud, you know, I like Bud Black as the person. I really do. But as the manager, I think we're done.
Yeah.
And for many, many reasons that we've all listed out here before.
Mm-hmm. Retire. Go spend time with your grandkids. Be a grandpa. Be a grandpa at home, not in the dugout.
Or, like, even if you want to just, I don't know, in this circumstance you wouldn't, but even if the team just wanted to give him like a cushy special assistant role where he can show up sometimes and be like, hey, it's me, Bud Black. And we'd be like, cool.
It's me, Bud Black. Remember when I was on the team in those playoff years and then proceeded to go on a 6 consecutive losing streak?
Including back-to-back 100-loss seasons?
Wasn't that fun? No.
Maybe you should, I was just like, Bud, maybe you should have stopped at the playoff seasons. You had a good thing going there. I do think, I actually am feeling kind of optimistic that this might be Bud's last year. We'll have to see in the off season, but I think it's more of a possibility now than it was at this point last year.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. See. My second round is a little bit more interesting because it's all players. By fired, you would be releasing them, or they would be forced to retire. By promoting them, it's pretty straightforward. That would be like a coaching position or a position with the organization. And keeping is they keep doing what they're doing. So here is my list for you.
Could promoting also be they get promoted into a regular starting role, if that fits into? If that would fit into their description as a player as they currently are. So like
yes,
Aaron
but not for not for these three guys.
Yeah, I figured. I just wanted to clarify that if we did another round.
So these three are Charlie Blackmon, Jake Cave, and Chris Bryant.
I'm going to promote Mr. Blackmon because that just seems what he's destined to do anyway.
Into what kind of role is Mr. Blackmon ascending to?
Whatever he wants. What interests him? Does he want to be GM? He can be manager. If we're firing Bud Black, he can be manager.
He drafts players solely on if he thinks they would be good at fishing.
Yeah, or if they have a beard or something. No, but I think that's kind of what he would be destined to, just one of those advisory roles in the organization. Like, hey, Chuck, can you travel around the system a little bit? Maybe go help coach some guys hitting every once in a while. Stuff like that. Or like an unofficial role like Cargo does, where Cargo just shows up every once in a while, hangs out, and then he leaves. So that's probably what I'd do with Chuck. Oh man, some of these are teed up. Now it's the question. Do we keep Chris Bryant or do we keep Jake Cave?
That's the question I posed for you.
I'm keeping Jake Cave and cutting Bryant because we're talking about sport. Jake Cave has done more for the Rockies in 2024 than Chris Bryant has in 3 seasons. In the sense of where Jake Cave has just been bring a fire. He's been a good presence leader for the team for a lot of those young guys. And so he's brought a fire to the Rockies that they've needed. And hey, he's also contributed. As much as people want to hate on Jake Cave, the dude has at least contributed He's come up with some big hits late in games. He's hit some home runs as of late, plays some good defense, and really being thrust into having to play way more than probably any of us expected. The dude has done his job. He's been good. Not great, but he hasn't been awful. And pull your hair out, Harold Castro or Jurickson Profile are terrible, but he's been solid contributor.
Cromulent, one might say.
I'd keep Jake Cave. Plus, he'll be cheaper.
See, my thought was, I think we're both agree. Chris Bryant is fired or cut or however you want to put it.
Chris, it's not
nothing
us,
against Bryant, the person, but we are 3 years into a 7-year deal. He has barely played. He has not contributed when he's been on the field. It's not going to work.
And he just kind of clogs up the roster just because Tolia's playing first base. I'm like, yeah, DH will be open, but I do not want him in right field as much as he's been playing since he's been back. I hate him in the outfield.
The fact that he is still playing the outfield regularly is nonsense.
I hate it so much. I hate it. It's awful.
It's pretty bad. Like, there is no reason for him to still be out there.
Like, I hate, and he's talked about this too, I hate that feeling of he makes any sort of like a dive or a slide or anything. I'm like, oh, he's hurt. Like, I hate having that feeling every time I see him out there. But that's just the nature of it. Now, if he was just the DH, I'd be less worried about that aspect. But when he's even, there's no life on his bat.
Yeah.
Like, it's a little soft single off the end of the bat. Like, he doesn't hit the ball with authority like he used to. And it's just sad because we've seen glimpses of it when he clubs one, gets a hold of a ball. Oh, he has such easy power, effortless swing. But he's late on everything. It's just it farts out a single.
Even when it seems like he's gotten a good swing off and he's gotten the power behind it, it just feels like it's not going the same distance as it should be.
Yeah, it's just a lazy line drive into right field.
If he had been able to, like, yeah, maybe he barreled it, but it's not going over the wall.
Yeah.
See, but for the other two, I had thought about this, and I want to be contrarian. So I'm going to say promote Jake Cave into a coaching role, because I do agree his presence in this clubhouse has been invaluable this year as a guy who's getting people fired up, who clearly has the backs of all his teammates and is teaching guys a lot of stuff. I love that. I hate that he is playing outfield as much as he is, to the same degree as Chris Bryant. Jake Cave basically being an everyday starter has driven me insane this year. And I like Jake Cave, the player. I think he's been a lot of fun this year. But come on.
If I had to choose of these three to play right field every day, I'm picking Jake Cave.
But I honestly couldn't even say that Jake Cave has been statistically or even visually a better outfielder than Charlie Blackmon has been in right field. Like, Chuck's been totally fine in right when he plays out there. And you can put him in the DH spot to open up right field to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Versus Cave, he's not the kind of hitter that you can put in a DH role.
No, the Rockies have put worse in the DH role.
Yeah, Brendan Rodgers as the DH is a choice.
Yeah.
It's been at least a little better from the first couple seasons of Universal DH, where they basically exclusively treated it as the day off your feet spot.
Yeah. But they still kind of treat it that way just a little bit.
Jurickson Profar, the designated hitter.
Mm-hmm. Also because he's just a terrible fielder. Okay, let's see here. I'm just trying to look up some stuff here. Okay. Jake Cave, 0 defensive runs saved in right field. Charlie Blackmon, -1.
Okay.
A 3.2 ultimate zone rating for Jake Cave in right field. -1.5 for Charlie Blackmon. He's got better range, better arm. Of course, he's got 7 years Charlie Blackmon's younger.
Senior.
Yeah. But Charlie Blackmon's much older. And just we've seen Chuck, and Chuck's never been that great of an outfielder, too. Like his legs and just his range and stuff and his speed have never been that great. Where Jake Cave is that all-around athletic outfielder that you want. So that is very helpful and useful.
But I would still argue that yes, Jake Cave is a better fielder, but not to as much of a statistically significant degree.
I would say defensively he is.
But like as an overall player.
Yeah, that's where you go into the offensive portion of things. But like as a base runner, outside of offensive capabilities, I think Jake Cave is the clear winner over Charlie Blackmon in both in running and defense, that stuff. He's literally running circles around Charlie Blackmon there. But yeah, that's where you go then into the offensive. Who do you value more offensively?
Looking at Chuck's
where they're at right now
last year, it's really funny. Charlie Blackmon actually had one of his best defensive seasons last year. He had positive DRS for the first time since 2012. He had a 0 outs above average, so the first time it wasn't negative in any of his career seasons. He had a 21.6 UZR divided by 150 with a 4.0 UZR and a pretty solid arm and range factors. That's wild to me. Because when you think last year, it doesn't really stand out to you. But statistically, Charlie Blackmon last year.
So here's the thing, though. Charlie Blackmon, just in outfielders in general, -1 DRS. He's at a -2 outs above average. Jake Cave, 1 out above average, but he's at a -2 DRS for working center field and left field.
Interesting.
So yeah, he's at a negative at one of those other outfield positions, and he's at a 0 in right field.
Honestly, I just wanted to be kind of contrarian. I think you could go either way, honestly. I think you can explain to me why you would want to keep Chuck or why you would want to keep Jake Cave either way. The only one that you would never be able to explain to me to keep or promote is Chris Bryant.
Now, if we can we go back in time and bring back 2017 Charlie Blackmon to keep?
Ooh.
So if we can do that, then we're doing that. Get out of here, Jake Cave. Hit the road, buddy.
That could actually be a really fun exercise in itself, as you take players on the current team and you've got to pick the 1 year that
ultimate version of that character.
Yeah, the ultimate version of that player. So in Charlie Blackmon, it would be probably 2017 Charlie Blackmon. It was one of his best career seasons. But for
2016 Chris Bryant.
Yeah. It's I'm trying to think of other players.
2018 Kyle Freeland.
Some of them are easier than others.
Yes.
Because, like, what year of Ryan McMahon do you pick when he's been a very similar player for the majority of his career?
This episode's running long, but that's okay as I look up Ryan McMahon because he had that one good year. That one really good year that I'm thinking of. Probably 2021 Ryan McMahon.
With his career high batting average of 254.
Yeah. A Ford 49 slugging, had a 334 WOBA. So, yeah.
WOBA.
But you could. But 2024 is also up there. That'd be one. This could be the year. This would be the year. Like, yeah, probably 2024 Ryan McMahon.
I'm really interested to see where he ends up at wins above replacement, because that 2021 season, per Baseball Reference, was his best year for WAR. Right now he's at 2.6 with almost 2 months to go. I'm really curious to see where he ends up. Because it's actually been, this has been a bad year, but the Rockies in general aren't having a terrible year in terms of wins above replacement this year. Like, they've actually got multiple players, like 10 players who are at 1 win above replacement or better. which I feel like
Mhm.
I need to dive into it and see, but it feels like it's been a while since we've had that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, all hope is not lost. And yeah, the Rockies are probably gonna lose 100 games again, but it's this kind of stuff that keeps things interesting. And I think that's going to do it here for us on Affected by Altitude. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Skyler, where can the folks find you at?
I will pose one quick question. We won't answer it. We can leave it to the people to ponder. Brenton Doyle, Ezekiel Tovar. Who should be our third one?
Is this for promote, keep,
yeah,
fire?
Yeah. We got to leave them with a tough one they can consider.
Ryan McMahon.
Yeah, there we go. I want to make it a little tougher.
Okay.
Chase Dollander.
I think it should be all guys who are still on the roster, on the current Rockies roster.
So we'll go Tovar, Doyle.
In terms of WAR, it would be Doyle, Tovar, and McMahon. Yeah. But let's make it interesting.
We could do Nolan Jones or Jordan Beck, and they're not.
I was actually going to say Victor Vodnik.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. We'll do those three. So, keep, promote, fire. Ezekiel Tovar, Brenton Doyle, Victor Vodnik. Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
And we'll tell you our thoughts next episode, so tune in.
If we remember that we did this.
Will we remember? Tune in and find out.
Next time on Affected by Altitude Z. Anyways, you can find me over on Twitter at silent_crowd and find me over on purplerow.com writing on the Wednesday Rock Piles and writing some stuff over at fansfirstsports.com where you can find the podcast articles for these episodes over at fansfirstsports.com. And look in the MLB over in the Rockies section. You'll find Rocky Mountain Rooftop. And streaming on all your favorite podcast platforms.
Except for that one.
They know what they did.
Exactly. You can find me on purplerow.com writing the Monday Rock Pile and on Tuesdays doing the weekly Pebble Report. And then you can also find me on Twitter at Evan_Lang27. I'd love to hear from you, unless you're going to be a weenie about it, in which case I don't want to hear from you. And then you can also find Rocky Mountain Rooftop on all of your favorite social media platforms, including Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter at Rocky Mountain Rooftop. That's at ROCKYMTN Rooftop. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Affected by Altitude. We're going to mosey on out of here. So, Skyler, hit him with it.
Farewell! Go check out Every Rocky Ever. New episodes every other Wednesday.
And there's a new Every Rocky Ever added, so there will never be an end to the episodes. Look forward to the Chase and Shreve episode.
2-hour episode.